Hi everyone, this is Nivedan here again from the Coffee and Startups podcast. We have on our episode today Sai Prasanth. He is the co-founder and CEO of Muse Wearables, an alumnus of IIT Madras, and they make some super breathtakingly beautiful and supremely functional wearables, mainly smartwatches. Unlike any other brands that happen to be in their segment, I personally love their design so much, and I'm very excited to have this conversation. And I love the mission that they have is to lead the future of personal computing beyond mobile phones, and that's quite an umbrella of possibilities that we're talking about here. We're going to explore Sai's journey, what makes Muse Wearables unique, and why it may or may not be an absolutely crazy idea to do a hardware startup in India. So this is something I think because it's a very quite a contentious matter in the VC and startup world whether or not to do a hardware startup. I think it gets people thinking, especially that India is a very digital app driven place. So I want to especially talk about that subject matter here. So thank you very much, Sai, for coming up today. I really appreciate you making time. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Nivedan. Thanks a lot for having me here today, and it's quite exciting to talk to you today.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Sai, I have just given a very brief introduction of Muse Variables in my own words, but I would love if you can share how you see Muse as and what Muse does.
Sure. So like you mentioned exactly, we want to lead the future of personal computing beyond mobile phones. That's our mission, and we started working with that as our primary mission. And we entered the wearable space first. So we design, develop, and manufacture wearables in house in India, and we sell across 70 countries. It's been a quite a ride for the past 3 to 4 years. We started this around 2017. Before that, we kind of, graduated from college. We went around the globe. We tried to, all my co-founders, including myself, we tried to climb mountains, highest mountains of the world. We climbed 5 peaks, etc. Then we
Wow.
came back. We met together, and we thought there was no Apple in India, or there was no company who could build a brand or build a consumer electronics brand in India. And the reasons were many. It's not a single reason. You address few of them in your introduction, but there are a lot of reasons for that. So we took some time. We understood in our first year where we launched a gadget outside Muse Wearables. We kind of kickstarted it, and we sold without knowing anything, by just making a video. We sold the product in 102 countries. We built it. We understood the supply chain little bit.
Wow.
Then we understood marketing, patents, approvals to sell in retail, all of it in 1 year journey from our customers. Like, we learned from our customers in the first year.
Wow.
Then we built the confidence to actually start Muse in 2017. Then when we started building our creating our first product strategy, we entered into hybrid smartwatches. It was a new category that time, because there were fitness trackers and there were digital smartwatches like Apple had launched in 2014. We came up with a question of, was there a need for another category? So we tried to address that why first, and we kind of formulated a plan for ourselves on how we take it from there to where we want to reach in the future. So that's how our journey started, and we launched our first products in 2019. It took nearly 17 iterations to build our first hardware product in Muse Wearables. Then COVID
Wow.
happened, but still COVID gave us a bigger opportunity to address bigger problems through wearables. So we launched our second product, which was Muse Q, back in 2020 September. That was our second product. And with that, we also entered into a kind of remote monitoring. Like, our wearables are currently being used across by consumers. That is our primary business. But they are being used across hospitals as well, to track and monitor patients outside the ICUs. So we were able to achieve that kind of accuracies with our vitals and the sensor technology. So right now it has been used, and we are really glad that, during COVID we were able to save at least 500 lives with the timely
Wow.
early warning systems that we have built for that. So that's it. Then, but right now, to build big thing, there are a lot of phases to it. So we built a product, we built our supply chain, and we developed our strength in supply chain for quite some time in the last 1 year or so. Now it's time for us to actually build our brand. So in the next 6 months, we'll be in at least 1,400 towns in India, which includes, of course, cities. People will be able to listen to us, see us, and experience us in these 1,400 towns by Diwali. So that's our
So
next biggest.
you'll be tying up with some retail chain.
That I cannot say right now because there's a competition that watches us everything.
Okay.
So we want to be a guerrilla marketing company for some more time.
Okay.
We want to do guerrilla marketing for some more time, where until suddenly people realize that we are there everywhere. So that's our mission for next 6 months. By November or
Wow.
December, we'll be there in 1,400 towns in India.
Amazing.
From there, we will scale. That's our plan. Yeah, because we are a startup in hardware, it took some time. But once things are in place, it's easy to launch new products. Our second product, the first product which took 2 years to build, the second product we built in 60 days. So,
Wow.
so, so it's that kind of expertise we have built so far, and yeah, I think we'll become the Apple of India.
You certainly have the look of the Apple of India, and that I think because Apple is known for its simplicity in design. That's the outer language that people see, right? Of course, there's a lot of sophistication in the tech that goes behind that only you would know. But the consumer, when they see it, the value that they get and the aesthetic experience that they get, I think you are already at par with Apple here. I personally found it very inspiring, the creative design that you put in. So, what I want to understand first is, just to complete this part of about Muse, uh, you've had some grand visions in place or the grand plans in place for the coming year, right? What is the? I saw you raised $3 million as well in 2020. So, where are the sales today, and where do you sell the most?
So we are currently at between still 70 to 1 crore a month. That's
Wow.
what we are doing starting January this year. And we
Okay.
used to sell until January, we used to sell only on our websites primarily. Now we have gone on to Amazon and we have tied up with Apparel retails of like as a B2B selling directly to Apparel as well. So we are slowly scaling on Amazon there. But like I said, we will be spreading ourselves much further from here in the next 6 months. The most of the funding we have raised went into technology development.
Right.
So one of the biggest differentiation we do in terms of any other company in India, I would say we are the only wearable company in India. We don't consider other brands as actually a technology company. They are actually good, very good marketing brands, excellent marketing brands. But in terms of building technology, we actually spend a lot of money there. We invest a lot of money there, and we kind of, other than B2C, we kind of supply the sensors to others as well. So that's
Wow.
what we do.
So
That's
let's
what we
talk
do.
about this. Let's talk about this. I think this is, in fact, the most important part of your entire business. As you said, you're a tech driven company, not a marketing brand. When you say this, I assume that you're pointing out that a lot of these brands are bringing in products from China straight away, putting their labels and marketing, packaging, and marketing in their own ingenious ways, right? And that's what they're good at. So I want to help me understand as a hardware tech startup, right? Why would you in 2015, why what drove you that you wanted to start something in India, something like this, when you knew that it's going to be challenging in the first place, more challenging than a usual tech startup? I want to know your reasons, you and your co-founders, why did you start this?
I think couple of reasons. There's not a single reason for it. I think I came from a product design background. I did engineering design at IIT, where it has been there from the first year of engineering that we wanted to build something, build products or
Great.
build
Yeah.
electronics or that sort. That was one of the driving point we had, and we also saw a gap in the market where we didn't understand why there is no company like Apple or Google or any technology companies in the consumer electronics space. So that was again driving point for us, where why can't we create one, right? Maybe right now you would see a lot of companies in the space. I do agree, but back then, when we were thinking, that was one of the biggest driving points for us. And third, like I said, we were kind of adventurous. So I was the one who was climbing mountains and etc. So
Yeah.
during certain times, like we tried to build solutions for ourselves, where the crazy thing we started off with, we tried to make us feel colder or warmer using a wearable. We tried to build that. So there is a
Oh.
wearable which can actually make you feel, even in a sunny summer in Chennai, you can still make yourself feel much colder.
I want to buy it. Is it available on the market off the shelf?
No, no, no. We built it as, we felt that it was a big problem, and we tried to build
Yes.
it as our first product. Then we realized that there were certain ethical issues with that. It was actually tricking the
Oh.
mind rather than, physically making you feel like that. So you might get dehydrated, you might get maybe. So that's why we stopped it. But there was an MIT company who went ahead and launched such product. I think it's available in market right now, something like that. So there were a couple of incidents that led us to where we are right now. So once we made that, we felt there were bigger problems in wearable tech, or there was an opportunity which we saw in the third category. So basically, it's always like we created our whys from the problems we face. Little bit. I don't say everything is from the problems, but it
Yeah.
was more of that
But your
trying
background
to.
gave you the confidence that yes, we can
Correct.
take on this adventure essentially.
Correct. And also, like I said, in the first year, we did attempt to do that first, to
Yeah.
see if we are even there, or if we understand anything. After serving like about 17,000 customers in 102 countries, then we decided to jump into Musewearable.
Wow.
Okay, we
And how
can
much of
start now.
this and how many of these 17,000 customers are outside India?
95%.
Oh, so
Yeah,
all
yeah,
your
yes.
market is outside.
No, no, that was for that product we had launched. It was on
Okay.
Indiegogo we had launched it.
Got it. Got it.
So that's how we kind of built it, built our first product
But
before
for your
launching Muse
but
Wearable.
for your now wearables and smartwatches and everything, what percentage of your customers lie within and outside?
See, after COVID, everything is in India right now.
Okay.
Like we kind of went to market like in real January 2020. I would say
Got it.
so. We in January we used to sell across 70 countries, but by March came, like everything got stuck. Then we were again live by April or May 2020. But from that point till now, we are only focusing on India. We want to scale here first, win here, then move out
Understood.
to another place. That's the plan.
Got it. I want to know what is the challenge, primary challenge that you see now that you've spent a few years in building a hardware tech product and company. In challenges in terms of two things. One is the availability of tech talent, and second is the availability of VC funds who believe in doing this.
I don't see both as the challenges actually. To be
Okay.
honest, I don't really see talent is really good. It's really available. It's just like, can we meet the market expectations in terms of hiring? Can we pay that much is definitely a point to attract the
Okay.
talent. But at the same time, there are a lot of people who are kind of want to build products, who are engineers, who don't get a right place to work or experiment,
Right.
or who has freedom to work, right? So that is definitely a catchy thing to attract talent, because we do core engineering as
Yeah.
core as, like, we build sensors in house. so
Absolutely.
so so
Oh.
so a lot of people are really enthused, and the kind of masters, PhD guys that they study very deep stuff, right? They also do not have right companies to work with their expertise, what they have built, right? So that way, talent is not really a big
Got it.
problem. But software side, when we build tech, we also work on software, right? That there we have to meet the market expectations. In Bangalore, it's like crazy right now. The software jobs are kind of really crazy. But still, if people are buying your vision, they are definitely enthusiastic about it and coming. Coming to the VC funding, our journey actually started with bootstrapping without having a product. With a video, we made 1.5 crores, right? And then we
You told
started
me.
our
Yeah.
journey. So that gave us a confidence that money is not the only criteria to
Yeah.
build a startup, but definitely VC funding would be very useful in scaling. That is true, but it comes as we build sustainable business models also,
Yeah.
right? But it's not the biggest factor for us. Like I said, we were able to attract good angel investments so far. We have not done a VC round yet, but we will be doing it soon. In angel rounds so far, I think we raised about 18 crores or nearly 20 crores of funding so far, or 21, I guess, approximately. I'm saying. So they were really really helpful. There are a lot of guys who came on board. Someone who worked in Nokia before, someone
Wow.
from Bahubali director S.S.
So that
Rajamouli.
money, came with the interests from different people. For example, someone who could mentor you a little bit on some specialized piece of R&D and tech, right?
Right, right.
And you said Bahubali, the director of Bahubali, you said?
Yeah, the producer, the director, and a couple of other people involved in
What
that.
is that plain money, or they have some interest in this product specifically?
So the Bahubali producer was part of, his brother was part of Kiritsu Forum, Chennai, who invested with us. So they
Okay.
had completed the movie and they were looking for opportunities to invest.
Wow.
So one of the guys
Yeah.
who invested, he kind of referred us, and then that happened automatically. And they are super cool people and very very inspiring to all of us actually.
Yeah. If I were you, I would somehow convince the Bahubali director, producer guy to say in the next movie, no, why don't you kind of do a subtle ad of my Muse? You're already invested in this. Would
I
would
think
that be
I
a fair
think
deal? Do you think that they're going to the protagonist is going to wear a watch anyway? Why not Muse? Can you convince them to get that done?
it's difficult to convince Rajamouli sir, because he doesn't put anything if it is not necessary,
I'm
right?
I'm saying wherever the watch is needed, why not Muse is all I'm
That's
saying.
what. If he is building something on it, definitely,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
otherwise we cannot do it. But he's really, really helpful. He has tweeted about us a couple of times, and then
Wow,
that
amazing.
that helped us. And even the producer, Mr. Shobu, he has a knack of doing business. They kind of give insights to us and help us a
Amazing.
lot. And we get help from all our investors. Like then the chairman of Kins has invested in our company. Then few people from Broadcom in US. A lot of people guide us and help us. And
Wow.
at right point of time, we will raise the VC funding. Uh, but like I said, that's not a big problem. I would say the
Got it.
biggest problem for a hardware startup would be not thinking through from end to end in the beginning of their journey. I
Okay.
think, or
What does
and
that mean?
no, in a hardware startup, there are 4 or 5 elements that are present, I would say. One is the whys. Why are you doing something, or
Correct.
does it help? That will lead to our product strategy. If one of these two has gone wrong, we have to reiterate everything from the beginning. So these two will become the core elements. After this, then there is engineering. A lot of engineering. It takes time and effort, and a lot of patience to build. But generally, we think only till this part. The biggest element I would say is the supply chain. How do we build the supply chain? How do we? Because, for example, we have lots of demand where we cannot, supply. That was the
Wow.
case for us last 6 to 8 months.
Why is that? I mean, what was the reason you were not able to supply them?
So for handling the supply chain, the lead times, the kind of product you are making might need a 90-day lead time to
Ah,
order to make, right?
got it.
At the same
So
time, we
you
are
may
building
or
the
may not have enough inventory at the time when the
right,
demand asks for it.
right. And we build these manufacturing lines with our contract manufacturers together, and we have to teach them how to do it. So that takes a lot of time and
Got it.
energy as well. That's why people are a little afraid, because there are a lot of spectrum of things where things can go wrong,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
From wise to the product strategy to the engineering to the manufacturing lines. to the scaling. Then the supplier, he might close his door. Something might happen in COVID. He'll shut his factories and stuff like that.
Got it.
so
Got it.
so a lot of challenges will be there, definitely. But so we have to do plan A's, plan B's. We have to build multiple supply chains. So I would say the place where we should have done better is to build a better supply chain from the beginning, rather than building it after a while.
Got it.
Now
And is
we
all
are
your supply chain based in India?
90% is in India.
What is the advantage that you have of doing it in India? When I mean, I know a few entrepreneurs who've made hardware products, and the Chinese ecosystem, let's say in Shenzhen and some other places, it's so strong that the supply chain there within that city becomes very straightforward and simple. So, what was your reason that you kept so much in India versus China, where I mean, a few trips could get you this thing in simpler?
Okay, so we started in China and then moved to India. With our initial
Okay.
product, first year when we tried out, we did that whole product in China. So what we saw was the operations cost that would incur for us to be there and get the product done, and the operation cost that would incur if we do it in India. Uh, uh, we felt India is better
Wow.
in terms of the operation cost that will incur for the company. That is number one.
Fair
Number
enough.
two, we can handle our cash flows better if we have control over our supply chain rather than completely depending outside.
You kind of held
Because
hostage, yeah.
right, and third, the credibility is less. Right, we are an Indian startup and we are trying to do it in China. No one gives us a credit. Right now, my supply chain, there is a 60-day credit for a lot of components, for a lot of electronics.
Wow.
So that is another reason why we thought, we, even though it might cost maybe 5% more here to make it here, but still we have more
The, re-
control
the
and
the control and reliability goes up.
right. So that these are the reasons why we kind of moved from there to here. But if it was a product we are buying from there to sell to the market, I think China is the best place to
Got
go.
it.
Like, it's not because they have the best thing in China is the not the cheaper or cheap products or anything of that sort. Their talent. That is number one. They are very, very good in manufacturing in terms
Yeah.
of the equipment, the advancement of the equipments, and they kind of understand that something is needed to the customer. They have to do it if something is needed, right? But here it's very, very difficult to convince the vendors because they get used to something, and if we have to change them, it's very difficult here. But there they live on manufacturing for a lot. I mean, Shenzhen
Understood.
is so that's how we changed. But the brief period where we were there, I stayed there in 30 days in Shenzhen. Every single day I visited two factories, morning and afternoon. So it was like a brilliant, brilliant place actually.
Wow.
It was. So we visited to the Foxconn sister company, Foxlink. They have
Yeah.
towns built with manufacturing factories, etc. But
Exactly. Yeah, that it's dramatically different there. But let's say if the cash flows and financial constraints were lifted off,
right.
then would you prefer China over India?
So there is one more incentives, or there are a couple of other factors that have started to play right now, right? For the imported wearables now, people are India is charging excess duties, and
Got
for
it.
all the components, they made the duties almost nil, zero duties for the components.
Amazing. Now
And
that
this
sounds
is
good.
for both smartwatches and hearables as well. So that's why if you
Got it.
see AirPods ka price, it would have gone up now in the last month or so, 2 months.
Okay.
At least 3-4 thousand, the price has gone up for AirPods. So
Exactly.
that is also a factor that is playing. And operations wise, I think maybe we are not ready for China yet, unless, like, if we are doing in a couple of millions where we cannot handle the supply
The
chain here,
volume, yeah.
the volume here, then we would definitely go. At the same time, for certain components and certain electronics, we have vendors in Shenzhen, we have vendors in Singapore, we have vendors in Switzerland. So across the places we have vendors there,
Got it.
including Taiwan as well.
Understood. So I think we've covered the supply chain part of how manufacturing is being done, what challenges and good and bad of India versus China, and why your reasons for doing that. There is another thing that I wanted to get your insight on, because you're in consumer personal devices and wearables segment. I I can intuitively sense that the persona of consumers outside India, I'm talking about the West when I say outside India, West versus the Indian consumer. What are the key differences that you see from your brand perspective?
There are two aspects to it. One aspect of the customers, they are price sensitive, and
Yeah.
they kind of, it's more, I don't want to tell it in a bad way. This is actually a good way also. They see looks over the performance of a product. That is one kind
You're
of.
talking about the West.
No, 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 no. You said in India, right?
Yeah, I'm saying the comparison between West and
Right.
India in
Uh,
as in their consumer decision making.
I think there is not much of a difference if we compare, because there also there is a segment which thinks in a certain way and buy the products. There is a segment which thinks differently and buy the product. For example, the performance versus the only aesthetic element of a product,
Yeah.
right? So if we see them together, there are in Indian market and US market similar people exist, because at the end of the day the value proposition is same, and we are all humans, and same human emotions are there, and it's just the size of the market, maybe the number of
Yeah.
people who would go
That
for
yeah,
it.
the economic segment, demographics and all,
That's it.
those would change.
That's it. But in terms of customer buying behavior, there is no change. It's the same across everywhere,
Okay.
because the human emotion is same. If we are messaging it in the right way to the same audience, the market will be same.
How your products look to me like they're a slightly bit premium variables. Is that the right positioning? Am I getting it right?
Uh, yeah, I mean, we do not call as a premium word or as such.
Slightly higher end it feels like because the design is just
No,
gorgeous.
with the
That's why I
price,
think like
no, no. If you talk about the pricing, yes,
okay,
we kind of position ourselves as premium and semi-premium
okay,
products, but
yeah,
it's more about not. We don't see it in terms of that, like our premium or semi-premium. We see it in terms of there are customers who would like this kind of a quality or this kind of a finish that we can provide. So we
yes,
try to build for such customers, but without calling it premium or so,
got it.
because we feel that it is affordable for those customers. It's not really expensive or I mean, it's not a very luxury thing for such customers. They feel
Got
it's
it.
fine. This is a normal price.
Got it. Got it. We've spoken about the tech. I want to cover the design part. I found I'm fairly sensitive to the design of my gadgets and everything, and the day-to-day goods that we have. I'm trying to find out ways to replace more of my older stuff with slightly better looking things. Just as the way we keep decorating our houses, you know, with that sense. So what I want to know from you is you've gotten gorgeous design in place. How? And if I were to make a very beautiful design like this, how do I get it done too?
Okay, sure. So I would talk about this in two parts. One is different elements of a design. Then the process that we have. Initially, we made a lot of mistakes on doing the product design, but right now we have come to a good process which is really working for us. So I would talk about those two elements. So the first part is like in terms of design. This is a very theoretical thing. Actually, there are three elements to a good design. One is something called a visceral design, then something called a behavioral or a functional design, and the third one is something called a reflective design. Right. So we try to bring in all these three elements. I'll talk about all three separately,
Sure,
but we
please.
try to bring in three elements, or we keep them in mind continuously when we are designing a product from the scratch, like from the beginning of doing that product. So visual design is something, as soon as you see a product, subconsciously you would like it because of, I would say, for example, you see a product, it resembled something that you have seen before, right? You kind of like it already. Like you like the songs, you generally listen more than a new song, right?
I've heard the cars are designed in certain curves because of the because of certain human instincts.
That's true. That's really true.
Yeah,
But
that's why
it's
we don't
it's
like the boxy designs.
but it comes from the point of view that generally human minds, like it's like when you see your opposite sex also, right?
Right.
You get attracted automatically. So that's our
Correct.
human minds are like that, where we like beauty. So that is
Right.
subconsciously we like beauty generally. So
Yes.
that is
Yes.
something called visceral design, where we try to bring that elements into the aesthetic, or we'll try to these three elements actually touch the human emotions again, right? This visual design subconsciously, make you feel very good or beautiful kind of a feelings that
Right.
will be generated.
The second
The
was
second
behavior.
one is the behavioral or functional design, where it is purely how it works, how useful the product can be, or this feature, that feature. It's purely
Got it.
a little bit of rational. And the last bit is the reflective design, which is a thing where it combines for one and two, and it also brings in a factor where would I be able to associate with this product, or would I want to associate myself? Why do you wear AirPods? So if I ask you a question, like, okay, if I select a blue color over a red color, why would I select a blue color? Because I am thinking about myself as something. I reflect myself into the product,
Hmm.
basically.
Yeah.
So reflective design plays in different ways. It can be just about giving an opportunity for the user to tell a story. You create certain elements where they would be able to tell a story about your product. So these are also elements that can be part of reflective design. But it is quite broad topic, I would say. The reflective design element, it can be done different ways. Okay, brand building
Is
can
does
work.
personalization come under this category?
uh, it is still functional or behavioral
Okay.
in our
Okay.
consideration,
So
but
so then I would want to make sense of reflective design more. You said
okay,
it's why someone would prefer blue over red, for example. So
right,
what makes them, like, how they see themselves, whatever their image of themselves and is kind of dictates what they seek in the thing outside.
exactly.
Okay.
That is one. And then second thing also, if I associate myself with this product or with this brand, how am I perceived? Will I be able to tell about this product outside also? Without wearing it, can I talk about this product? Can I
So the
tell
product
them?
has to
Yes,
be an extension of my identity.
correct. So
Got
there
it.
are multiple elements through which we can try to bring that element into the design. So these three are the primary, the first step that I said that we always keep in mind in terms of a design. The second thing is the process that we have kind of refined over a period of time. Like I said, first, when before we design any product, we define the whys of the product. Why are we doing it? It has to be extensively perfect internally, not for the outside world. Actually, everyone has to believe in that why. That is our first step. Then we build the product strategy, which is generally a normal thing that anyone does. After that, the biggest thing is our engineering does not start until the point we complete something called the whole user experience. In software, you do UX, right? Similarly, we do something for the hardware. So the way we do it is we actually, let's say, earbuds, right? There is a case and then there are buds in it, right? So let's say we try to build this earbuds. That's our primary goal. We created our why. We created product strategy, which has all differentiation features. What do we want to do differently, etc. Then we go with if a human is there, how would he interact with the product? So we will list down all the kinds of interactions that a person would do with the product, right? Okay, how come AirPods came with a case? That came because generally if there are two birds, you might lose it easily. You can keep one somewhere, you can keep something else. So
Yep.
these kind of interactions, just an interaction with a case, your earbuds case, we kind of write down nearly 100 to 150 interactions, or probably 200 to 250 interactions that a person would do with a product or with a case. Similarly, we try to do those interactions across the product usage, and find how many, what is the frequency of, I mean, how many times the person would be doing that interaction with the product.
Yep.
Right? We kind of do that in a very methodical way, and we choose the top interactions to solve, and then we try to create experiences around that. And that's where we see how can we do better than anyone else, or what is the best experience that we can provide for certain interaction, right? We design that, or if we come up with multiple solutions, we actually prototype them. The whole product team presents to everyone different solutions for a simple, even for a simple this case open and close. There will be five different. Yeah, so just for that case opening and close, there will be 4 or 5 different experiences that would be created. Then we'll choose what is the best in terms of all things put together: user
Got it.
experience, supply chain, engineering, all of it put together. So after we build all these experiences and prototype them, this is done by product team, not engineering team yet. Engineering team is not there yet. So once we have the whole customer experience or user experience document with all the solutions prototyped and finalized,
Wow.
that's when we actually do a PRD.
Okay. Wow, that's extensive already. Yeah.
Yeah. So that then the PRD goes to our engineering team. Then the engineering team has a normal engineers who would build what has been given, and it also has certain R&D engineers who build or who kind of develop
So
something.
I want to ask one thing here. I've been a product guy before. I've made a lot of PRDs, and I understand the digital interaction world quite very well. Like the UX, UI part of it. I can go from user goals to whatever interactions they're going to have. Right, their goal might be to sign up. Their goal might be to check out their notifications and so on and so forth. And for each of these there would be a flow. That flow would decide the user experience and eventually UI,
Correct.
right? So I understand this in the digital world, and I probably a lot of people who are listening to this might find it more intuitive. But the example that you gave to me was quite interesting, where you said that we've got this case and how do I interact with this? The simple thing that how does it snap back, and it
Right.
makes this click sound,
Correct.
right? And I've seen this consistently across. It's never a soft thing. It has to be click, right? And my initial understanding of that is that click has some sort of a visceral satisfaction first of all, but more importantly, at a functional level, it gives the feedback that yes, it is correctly closed,
Correct.
right? So a
Correct.
very silent click would this closing would not provide this feedback, and you might be left confused. Oh, whether was it closed well enough or not? Where will it open and fall off? Something
Exactly.
like that. So is that correct, or are there other angles to this just one interaction type here that you guys might have thought of?
Exactly. So what you said is exactly the way we think.
Okay.
But
I
the
think Dan
click.
Norton helped me with this a bit.
Sorry.
Dan Norton, his book, The Design of Everyday Things.
Okay. Okay.
Dan Norton, Daniel Norton, I forgot the exact name, but
I
he's
don't recall
the,
the
yeah,
man.
so he's written this very old book, now 70s, but it's considered as the Bible of modern age design
Yeah. So the
philosophy.
first part I told is completely from that.
Yeah, yeah.
The way we apply is the only thing that we understand from it and do it. That's it. That's the
Yeah.
only thing that's different. So what you said about this click, right? We try to prototype that click sounds 100 different types. We try to
What?
do that. We try to do that. What is the best sound? Or we try to do, is it just with magnet, touching with that and giving a sound, or we put a speaker in that, or there is a vibration in that, because
Wow.
that's how we think. Like we try to prototype all of them. We see what is the simplest and good solution, and supply chain wise and engineering wise a good solution, and how is it different from somebody else also we see.
Wow.
Is
Yeah.
it which one is the
If your click sounds exactly the same frequency as Apple, that is probably not a great idea.
a little
That
bit, but we don't see that
okay.
different frequency thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
more like unless we are providing a completely different experience which is better. For example, this tap, right? It's very inconvenient. Wrong taps can happen. So Apple did the pinch. How the pinch can pinch is little bit better than a normal tap, right? So
Oh,
like that we.
I can pinch on this?
I don't know if you have a pinch there, but my this one has,
Yeah.
the AirPods
Okay,
2 have.
interesting. I never knew it. I
Yeah.
should check out Google on my features of this airport.
So what I meant is, like, we try to think about those. See, for a lot of people, it is intuitive. You just get the product, you believe that the product works like that, and but there is a lot of thinking that goes into it for making it
Yes,
the way it works, right? So that we try to do fundamentally, and we love
I
that.
understand.
I try to go and sit in those meetings when the people are presenting the user experiences, because that's one of the best parts of building a hardware startup, I would say. But having said that, hardware startup, we are actually don't consider ourselves as a hardware startup. We are a
Okay,
lot into software, and we build
fair enough.
lifetime experiences, and only through software we can build a lifetime value to from like to a customer, not just a hardware. So we do build that, and just on your show, I'm telling you, we are launching a wearable operating system end of this year,
Wow.
which we are opening it for everybody also. So that also goes through the similar process that I mentioned, like you said, software.
Very interesting. You're making your own OS for wearables.
Yes, not wearables completely, for the digital smartwatches. If you see, we are not in the digital smartwatch space yet. We are only in the hybrids and non-digital
But
products.
why launch a different OS for it is something I'm curious about.
It's the market gap we have seen. There is a 65% market gap that is present in terms of smartwatch OS right now. If you see the market, Apple owns 30% of the smartwatch market, 28 approximately, I would say, and it's they own their own operating system, and it's not open for anyone. Then the Google Wear OS is kind of 3.5% is the market share for it, and the rest market do not have an operating system. Not just Muse market, I'm saying the rest of the 68% of the market does not. It's like a featured phone, not a smartphone. It's a featured wearable, not a smart wearable.
So you're saying this is especially the low budget segment, I'm assuming then.
No,
The smartwatches which are for 1500, 2000, 2500 are, is it necessarily about them?
not necessarily about them. Even 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 rupee products also, they do not have an operating system. And even high priced products, if you see, everyone uses Google Wear OS, right? So that is still the 3.5% of the market.
Interesting.
So at least these numbers are of for the last quarters in
And
2021.
Google Wearable OS, what is the reason why it's not being adopted by these people?
It is still closed, and there is a certain cost, initial cost to work with it. And the biggest gap we have identified is, like, when people use Google Wear OS, it really does not add any value to the vendor or to the guy who is selling a wearable, because he is not making any additional income with the software, right? It's the Google who gets the data, and it's Google who makes business with the data that they get. So essentially the vendor is actually not to sell a higher priced product, he has to spend more, and the margins are less, or things work out that way, because there is no lifetime value that he can get from his customer, because people shift when some other feature comes into another product. It's like that loyalty has not been built up thoroughly in the smartwatch spaces,
Interesting.
in the smartwatch space. So if you're using Wear OS, it's simple, like Google will make money, but the vendor will not make anything of that sort. So that we have seen as a big gap, and there are a lot of vendors who signed up with us, right?
Got it.
Not just for us. They are very happy to sign up with us, because we kind of discussing different business models with them.
Understood. This is a very new kind of venture for even you, that you're going out with a different software product and OS. And if its adoption picks up, that could mean a lot for building, I think, one more revenue stream for the entire company, I think, which is way more scalable in a shorter period of time, naturally, because it's a digital
Correct,
medium.
correct, correct.
Got it.
And
Amazing.
all the international vendors are also open to adopt. They're not like fixed or rigid like mobile phone segment.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. If as an outsider, I think I would have assumed if Android OS and Google Wear OS would be pervasive, but it's a shocker that 68% of the market is yet to be captured very well in a very unified, proper OS.
Right.
Great. So with this, I think we can move on to our next short segment, which is where we can. I'll ask you a few small for your small insights on a couple of things, right? So one I had was, which trends are you betting, like which particular trend rather, are you betting on big time for the next decade? Any trend that you think is going to shape the future in the next decade, what do you think that is and why?
One of the trends we are looking at is the predictive health or personalized health is one of the
Okay,
trends we are looking at. So we are focusing on building sensors and sensor technology for meeting those expectations of the users going further. And a lot
got it.
of people are using preventive medicine and the preventive care. That's definitely a big trend that is coming. And last 2 years, it's been increasing a lot. That is.
Especially
Uh,
after COVID, I think yeah, a lot of people now know what predictive health could mean.
Yeah, yeah. And just for that, the wearables which are being used in our healthcare space for us, they have lot of we have lot of de-identified vitals measured across different problems that people have. So we try to build a lot of learning ML and algorithms on top of it to see what is the personalized. Can we build a model which can actually personalize the medicine or personalized clinical pathways for the users? These are only in the R&D things that we do, not as a commercial element right now. But when the right time comes, maybe that's a good trend that we are looking at.
Got it.
And it is
Got it.
getting into not just the B2B segment, it is coming into the customer mind space also. Thinking about
Yeah.
that. For example, one of the companies which currently making good noise is Ultra Human, if you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they are trying to bring the metabolic fitness into the market as a big thing, right? Some
Yes.
some were focusing only on HRV parameters to focus on fitness. So they
But
are
they're talking
bringing
about, I think, insulin and glucose tracking
glucose
something.
tracking, something like that. So these are all trends that we see people as they are adopting and as they are getting awareness. I
Yeah.
think that data would be a really useful thing. Again, de-identified data would be a really useful thing in terms of building personalized
Got
solutions
it.
for users. That is one trend.
Makes sense.
And that's number one. And the second trend I would say is in watches, in smartwatches, digital is becoming the next trend. So more and more digital will come, and more computing will happen on the wrist without the need of a phone. And yeah, so like I said, we want to do personal computing beyond mobile phone. So
Yeah,
we
you said.
see a lot of computing happening beyond mobile phone in the near future.
Got it.
But
No
we
wonder, yeah, you've doubled down on this trend and you're building products that even shape this trend, probably, right? Uh,
hopefully, yes.
Amazing. Let's say you had one question to, if there was a god of business. Let's imagine a god of business, like who decides the success and failure of any new company, right?
Okay. Okay.
And you had an option to pray to this god and to get the answer to this one question that unlocks the next phase of your business success, right? The answer to which question would like mean so much to you. What question would you ask them? Like literally, like, oh God, get me, like, just tell me this and I'm sorted.
uh, Very difficult uh, because we
There
try
must be
to.
some pain. There must be some pressing pain point which sometimes keeps you up at
Okay,
night.
okay,
That
okay. Maybe I have come up with something, but it's
yeah,
not really the truth, but a little bit of it. When
yeah.
will this curve goes up again? The current curve, that is the trend. The economics, the macroeconomics are not good right now. If
How
you
will
see,
that make a difference to your business though?
it can affect everything, right? When money is not moving, right? It can
Ah,
affect that people spend might come down, salaries will come
hmm.
down. So it's from top to bottom, things might impact. The fundraisers will take
So
more time than what is expected.
So you wish for
Possibly.
you wish for your consumers to be able to retain their disposable income so that
That's it.
they can buy more of your products.
Otherwise, we have to build products for
Yeah.
marriages. Or things of
Got it.
that sort, which will not be affected by recession.
No wonder. Got it. Makes sense. That is quite interesting. Then, if
And 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 one
yeah,
more
sure.
one more thing I would say is like we also want certain licenses in fintech space. not complete licenses, certain approvals. I would ask God to, please help the bankers to take faster routes to, you know.
Yeah, I think you will have a billion people supporting this. Okay, God, please lesser bureaucracy and more action.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's a fair wish to have, I think. Then, what do you think is harder, building these products or selling them?
I think it's a complete thing. It's not a single thing. Building the products and building the hype around your products and selling them is a complete value
Absolutely. But if you had
proposition.
to pick one, what do you find harder?
I think not harder, I would say. I think if we have to redo everything, first we will sell first, then go back to building the products.
Got it.
I mean, we would first build the brand faster, then build the products rather than building the product for a longer time,
Got it.
because technology evolves much faster. Like,
Yeah.
right. So maybe I'm not sure, but maybe our
No,
mindset
that's
will make us go back
sure.
again to that. But
Yeah.
I would first build the brand, start selling first, and then go back, do more innovation. That's
Got
what I
it.
would do. So yeah.
Got it. And then, what is one really annoying thing that people who are not from the hardware tech space at all, and I would probably be in that category too, what is that one thing that they do or ask that really annoys you as a founder?
Yeah, definitely that is there. One thing is, like, they do not know that hardware means 99% software and 1% hardware.
Oh, wow.
That's what hardware is all about. You have to program it, right? There's a lot of software involved in it,
Mm,
and there are a lot of services that comes with the hardware. That is something,
sure.
when people see hardware, okay, theek hai, chalo, and they also assume that it is not scalable. That is one
Oh, yeah.
thing that annoys me.
And you
Software
have a
scalability,
completely contrary belief to that? You believe that it's
not
very scalable?
completely, not completely contrary beliefs. It is possible to assume like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But once the product matures, then the scaling is easier in product rather than in the software,
Wow.
right? So that's how it works with the product. And in software, even though you're scaling, I'm talking about consumer tech, not the
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
software or SaaS or something like that.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when you're scaling, software is easy to get saturated than hardware sales, probably. And the method of scaling is different for software compared to hardware. So
Got it.
hardware, the tougher part is until you bring out the product to the market and it clicks in the market. That's the hardest part. Once it clicks in the market, it is simple. It's like it runs. I mean, it can scale bigger and you make a lot of revenue. But the negative aspect, or what software people, I would say, think is, like, it's just a hardware revenue. It's not there is no
Yeah, I think we all get too consumed by the physical product that we see.
correct.
And especially, I also started on this note, and I know that it can be sometimes annoying for someone like you, right? That we have certain presumptions about what building a hardware tech company would mean. That's why I had these questions of what was the market response, VC response, and finding the tech talent, because these are classic notions associated, and some parts of this are actually challenging. Some parts of them probably are simply our lack of, yeah, or probably our ignorance about this space, right, as an outsider. So yeah, I think it's good to hear actually that the hardware, building a hardware product is not as difficult as it seems in India anymore.
Probably.
Eh, than before, right? And there are options to
Correct.
doing things
So
only in
that's
China.
that's true. Things have changed in the last 3-4 years a lot,
Amazing.
for selling and building the hardware products. Things have changed a lot.
Yeah.
It has become easier compared to 3 to 4 years back.
Wonderful, wonderful. That is good to hear. I think that is very promising for anyone who's considering doing a hardware tech startup. I think that's a word of encouragement. And I wish if anyone who's from your domain sees this, can find some inspiration, some guidance from you, whether through this video or whether through reaching out to you sometime offline. So I'm really glad that we spoke about this today. That was the last section that we had. And I loved having this chat. This is a very new space for me to know how the business works and behind the scenes of this thing. So thank you so much for sharing all of these things very candidly. I loved what you did here.
No problem, man. Thanks a lot for having me here again.
Thank you everyone for watching. This is Nivedan again from Coffee and Startups. We had Sai Prasanth as our guest today, and he's the CEO and co-founder of Muse Wearables. I'll see you again in the next episode.